to another episode of the Branching Out podcast, all about the lives and stories of people here at Ground Control. I'm host Neil Bailey, and in this episode we're talking to Jay Hicks, the Winter Operations Director. So let's get right down to it. So welcome to the podcast, Jay. If you would for me, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Jay Hicks. I'm the Winter Operations Director. I've been with Ground Control 7 seasons. We count seasons in winter, not years.
Okay.
So 6.5 years, 7 seasons.
Yeah.
I'm based up in Gateshead, originally from Bournemouth.
Oh, okay.
But obviously my family are up here, or my wife and son. So I work in the Gateshead office with a couple of guys from grounds maintenance.
Yeah. So what does that mean? What do you do?
So in a nutshell, I ensure that service delivery is completed through a network of field teams across the whole of the country. And that's 207 of them.
Wow.
And also with a very strong team, which is divided into two. I have an operations team of 5, and then I have a regional management team of 6. So obviously, as they are spread across the whole of the country. They work in unison, and they are much aligned with our client services team again. So that makes up the whole sphere of winter maintenance. Yeah. So our operations team will deal with everything from recruitment of field teams to all of the logistical elements of partnering with Ground Control's procurement team for salt tendering, make sure we've got the right suppliers, abiding by the right environmental impact studies, etc. And then my material planner, supported by others, will basically all of the salt and materials that are required to complete the service. Now we have other elements or people within the team that are my operations manager. So George is the guy who is the closest to the field teams. He's talking to majority of them every day. He'll discuss pricing, allocations, and anything that untoward where that can't be resolved by one of the operational administrators. Yeah. So he's like the next level of escalation. Regional managers, they're spread from all the way from Elgin, north Scotland, all the way down to Wolverhampton, and they're an interface on 3 parts. So they embed themselves with the field teams. So a regional manager will look after 20-30 field teams, and they'll report into him or her for any daily escalations. I've got a key that's broken, or I've got a difficulty with a security guard on this site, or whatever it may be. Anything, general issue on site, whatever it may be. And they'll interface with the client. So they'll do renewals, they'll do quotations for new sites. So gearing for growth. And then lastly, they are a link for escalation to the client services. So the client services team will deal with levels 1 and 2 triage from the clients and or the public. And then the regional managers will deal with level 3, which could be resulting of a slip, triple, fall, where we escalate it to health and safety. And we deal with obviously our triage with our red and amber alert systems as well. Yeah. And then very lastly, and not to be forgotten, is Peter Brown, so our longest service member in my team. He's our commercial operations manager and decision maker. The decision making part is he's our weather expert. So we sent him away on a course last year to understand the weather, how we make critical decisions across the country with the weather data we get from the Met Office. And he will link with me daily, as well as with Anna, who's head of client services, to say, hey, we've got a weather event coming, as we've literally walked out the back of this snow event this week, and we need to think about these areas, and do we need to do overrides, and how do we communicate extra to our clients, how do we communicate extra internally to the business, and then we ramp up to the next level of processes, gearing for full support of that potential weather event.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
No such thing. My diary was full today. I had to shuffle a few things round. Clients are escalated a number of concerns. That's gone through to regional managers, a couple of business development managers who have strong relationships with that client because they brought them on. Obviously getting involved quite rightly, and then needed the next level and the last level i.e. my level, to sit there and explain to the client what's gone wrong, how we're going to solve it, and how we're going to move forward today and tomorrow and forevermore, just to retain that client, and also to give the client a little bit of love to say, hey, Jay is here, he's the operations director. If we go above him, then I'm not doing my job.
Right. Yeah.
So a typical day, we start off the day and we'll have the mobilization manager should feed through a load of allocations, and we'll look at field teams and pricing, and then push them through to my operational team, and we'll get them put onto our operational system, Blaze. Then we'll we'll have a look at the weather, and then we'll have an SLT meeting, an internal SLT meeting, see what anything happens that we all should be aware of from the day before or that night's worth of service. Any breakdowns of vehicles, any incidents on site, slip, trips and falls. For example, last night there was an oil spill. How did we clean it up? How did we process it? How do we communicate to the client? And then it's that basically it's hitting head on all of the meetings that you're scheduled, and where you have touch points and and elements of control or input through the business. For me today, it was updating and ensuring that the business review summary is ready for Monday's distribution to Jason, etc. It's the first one I've done today, so I had a few tips and guidances of how to make sure it's right and it reads well, etc., etc. So every day's a learning day, and then it's what's in front of you, but it's also looking at not just today, it's looking at tomorrow, because obviously we're understanding the weather. We've got another weather event coming in, but this time it's rain and winds, gale force winds coming. So, okay, our guys and girls get an easier ride because there's generally going to be no service. So this is where we get a wash up of what's just gone through. We do a quick lessons learned, change a couple of processes, enhance a couple of processes, deal with escalations. And it'll be some feedback to a couple of clients, and more so it'll be feedback to a number of field teams where we do our internal audits, making sure photographs, tracking, service delivery, all those kind of things are, they're hitting the nail on the head, and obviously making sure that the client is receiving the service that they are paying for to the standard of that they require as well. Yeah.
And you were talking about the typical day doesn't exist. There's always stuff happening, and I suppose the flexibility that you're having to do for that. And then right at the beginning, you were talking, the word I can use is tenure in terms of seasons. So how does your, in inverted commas, typical day change off season?
Yeah, well, that's really good, because obviously we're gearing up now. Myself and my operations manager, we're gearing up for our risk analysis of our service. Service has been a lot lower than it has been in previous seasons, but the service. But we also have, a fully embedded risk matrix tool of every single team, and I think there's something between 17 or 18 factors that we assess to make sure that they're the right team that we move forward with next season. There's lots of reviews, lots of analysis, lots of summary, lots of P&L things for me to push through to Freddie. And to Richard, and obviously for Jason to review, to say, hey, hang on, this is what we need to be doing next season. We've already got placed some dates this month and early next month to align with key stakeholders within business development. They're coming to Newcastle. We're going to have some workshops to look at growth strategy. Where do we need to go, and how do we get better in whatever area we may feel that we could develop in? So they're already in process. And then obviously to squash I've had this for 7 seasons, to squash the rumour mill, winter only work in winter, we don't work in summer. We have it all the time. It's a running joke now, and it's been around before I even came along. I find that some of the guys and girls that work within the whole of winter actually produce more work in the off season than they do in season, and the reason for that, one, we need to retain clients.
Sure.
So we need to be hot on their heels and pushing new renewal quotes to them, keeping them engaged, doing the end of season summaries, reviews, and presentations and reports. Also doing data cleansing of our system, making sure everything's right. It's easy to go, yep, it's right now, but it moves every day. I'm forever changing new areas on sites. I'm talking about my team here, and we're changing field team pricing. And then we're looking at new areas and how we can develop better route optimization and density to, one, get us a better price for our client because they're within a well densified area for a field team. And if that is a little bit stretched, then we bring in a new field team and bring in, another route, another density area. And sometimes they're layered on top. And the reason why we do that as well is also for resilience. Field team breaks down tonight. If it's a field team's got 20, 30 sites, may only have one vehicle, 2 people working for him. That vehicle breaks down tonight. I can call up another field team who may be 15 miles away. Can you do these 10 sites for tonight?
Yeah.
We'll give you some extra money. They go, of course. And they come across and they do that just for the duration of that vehicle breakdown and getting repaired and things like that. So there's all of those things as well. And one of the biggest highlights for off-season is actually physically engaging and going and visiting the field teams. So the regional managers have KPIs as much as I do. I have my own KPIs, and everybody within the operations and regional management sections of it, they have to go and visit all 207 field teams.
Yeah.
And that's through the off season. And then what we do is we release our ground control, have their own field team engagement survey. We develop our own half a dozen questions, draw it in, and then we go and visit the teams and say, right, what's the reason for this improvement or concern or whatever it may be, and face to face them and say, how do we improve? How do we make it better for us as well as you? So also for the summer, it's we're getting our holidays in because we very rarely do take. We may take the odd 1 or 2 days off throughout the 180 day cycle. But the big chunks, like your 2-week holiday to Ibiza or maybe, that's done in the summer. So you'll see, dents in our people levels because obviously they're getting in their holidays. So that's the big thing. So we have to work all those factors in as well to make sure that everything's still running whilst everybody's still getting their much warranted downtime.
Yeah, interesting. So thank you for that. And just the way you're talking about it, you're obviously very passionate about it. You're passionate about what you do. What are you most proud of in terms of what you do?
I will say is a bit of a cliche, but I'll say the people.
Okay, go on.
And that's both internally, our people within winter maintenance. They go through some tough times. They get some harsh comments, and they get a lot of flack. They're up at God knows what time. They work on Christmas Day. Not all of them. Yeah. We have a rota system. Yeah. But you've got to say to someone, come join winter maintenance, and because you're a newbie, you may have to work Christmas Day. We put the experienced people on Christmas Day. Same goes New Year's Eve and wherever it may be, holiday periods. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Yeah. We've got people that started on the 8th of January, all the way up to. Hope she doesn't mind me saying her name, Deborah Colson, who's been here 22 seasons. Right. That's so commitment. There's a lot of commitment there. So if she says she doesn't enjoy her job, I'll have to chat with her. But I'll get her on a future podcast and see if she backs that up. But definitely. No, people definitely are the biggest achievement, and they're the strength. The field teams, these are guys and girls that have their own businesses. They're juggling lots of different balls. So, they're working hand and foot for ground control and pushing out an absolutely fantastic service. Again, working from 7 at night till 7 in the morning in the harshest conditions. It takes a little bit of Dutch courage to get out and go out in blizzards. Sure. Go out to one of our client sites, which may be on top of a mountain, just to do a very small footpath or wherever it may be, or going into areas around the country which are a little bit unsavoury, 2-3 o'clock in the morning when it's kicking out of nightclubs, and they're going out and they're doing their gritting. Obviously, it's all that risk management stuff. So no, people. I don't want it to sound like it's a cliche, but people are definitely the strongest attribute and success of what we do.
Yeah, and I think you're right, particularly when you're working very shift oriented. What's often termed as the hours that most people don't want to be working. Then you do rely on each other, then, don't you? So
yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned the word resilient, so that always makes my ears prick up. So for you, Jay, what do you do to switch off?
Yes, everybody asks me that. So I do a lot of outdoor work with regards to. Yeah, so I'll my wife and my poor 12-year-old son. He's not too favourable. So we'll go up to the lakes, we'll go up to the Cairngorms, we'll go up to the coasts of the northeast, and we'll walk. Dog loves it. It just clears your head. And then both obviously my son and I, we do a lot of karate. We've both just been selected again on Sunday for our national team. So we'll be going to Europe to compete in the European Championships in October. We did the World Championships last year in Dundee. So that's my frustration is taken out in the dojo, but it allows me to switch off completely, because it's not looking at spreadsheets. It's not talking to clients. It's not talking to anybody. Making sure that, I'm getting a series of movements correct without hurting myself or someone else.
Yeah. And from memory, you're ex-military, is that right?
I am, yes.
Yeah, yes. What would you say you've been able to bring from that part of your career into what you do now?
Structure.
Okay, go on. Tell me more.
So, simple terms, 4-man team in the military. You've got the corporal at the top, you've got the lance corporal, you've got 2 privates.
Yep.
You go on exercise, you go on adventure training, you go into battle, wherever it may be around the world. Corporal goes down, the lance corporal picks up the chalice and carries on running. Yep. The lance corporal goes down and the privates pick it up. Yep. So I had that system process drilled into me for 17 years of serving in the military. Yep. So how do I implement that structure in what I do today? Mm-hmm. Every single person that comes to work within my team, doesn't matter if they're regional managers or within the operations team, and it doesn't matter what your primary role and responsibility is for why we have hired you for, your skills to come and take this position. You'll learn every single person's job. And we've had it. Someone goes ill, I've got two people that could take over that job and keep that going. Someone else goes ill. If I'm not there for the day, George, my operations manager, George, roll with it. Yeah. Okay, he's not going to be doing the P&L and all that kind of stuff, but he could run the operations, with me gone. It doesn't matter if it's 1 day, 2 days, or whatever it may be. And there's lots of experience within our team, or both teams, that support each other, and that's what it's all about. It's supporting each other to make sure the end result of what the paying customer wants gets done properly. So what have I brought? Support and structure.
Interesting. And from that, you mentioned the word, but I know from the military, my brother's RAF is that constant, I suppose, learning, constant honing of skills, all that kind of stuff. What do you want to learn next?
Really hard. I'm always changing. I'm always looking at how to better myself, and it may not be a case of I need to go on this course, or I need to do a formal qualification in whatever it may be. It's just being part of something where I go, actually, I quite like that way. And again, coming back from the army, I used to go watch people. I was an instructor in lots of different things, but watching people of the same qualification and go and watch their lessons and drawing little ideas and positives out of how they deliver something to get the outcome achieved. And then I see that in not just ground control, I see it everywhere, is that I see how someone does something, and I go, oh, I really like that. And then I'll engage them and say, oh, you know that document that you published last week, or you know the way you did this presentation, or I understand about you did this on to overcome this issue. Can you tell me how you did it, or could you show me how you did it? So yeah, I'm very nosy, and I will link in with people to say, how did you do that? Could you show me how to do that? So just to, I don't know, to give me another a little piece on my armor to say, I do understand. I may not be able to do it to the full outcome of what you may want, but I understand. And I think that's the biggest thing, and what a lot of people have challenges with is they don't understand, or they don't have the confidence to say, could you show me again? Because they've had training, and so, and some, doesn't matter which level manager you are, or director, is that, do they understand the information or the communication that's been put across?
Yeah.
You'd have done it yourself. You've gone on the course, first aid course, whatever it is, you're fully engaged, you understand, but the person in the corner, you can see on their face, they don't understand. It's how do we reconfirm? So I always ask a million questions. That may annoy people, but that's my that's my learning style.
Yes. Making a complete left turn, just because I'm inherently nosy. I'm very, very passionate about the Lake District. So you mentioned about being out there. So I am going to have to ask, what's your favourite spot in the Lake District to walk?
I would say the southwest part of Lake Windermere, in the areas of Hawks Head. You've got a wide range of vantage points. Gone are the days, not gone are the days, I don't think my son's going to approve of it. Gone are the days where I'm going to, trundle up the hills at a rapid rate of knots and go, yeah, I'm here, and yeah, this is great, and he's halfway down the mountain still. Got to make it enjoyable. The reason I enjoy Hawks Head more, because obviously there's a lot of forest there. For education of my son, we do a lot of education as we're walking along. Moss only grows on this side of the tree. You can say where north is, and this is the lakes, and what you can do and what you can't do. It's just I call it survival skills, but it's just it's general education of life and the countryside. If I was on my own, I would prefer to go more north, because it's more mountainous and more the steeper the valleys, the more challenging it is to walk. But as a family man, the southwest Hawks Head. Favourite for our family is Ambleside.
Nice.
Nice little quaint village town, and the community there's fantastic. We've often commented that's where we're going to retire. But,
good to know.
See.
Great. So thank you. That was me being very nosy about one of my favourite spots. I always finish a podcast with a generally quite an off-the-wall question, just to kind of, put people under just a little bit of pressure, just find out a bit about what makes them tick and try and change it each time. So my question for you is, it's kind of a two-parter. So out of starters, main course and dessert, what's your favourite course? And then within that course, what's your favourite dish?
So I would say I'm not a dessert man.
Okay.
But I do like a cheese. But I do like a cheese board.
Oh, interesting. Right. Okay.
So this is very military. So my favourite part of the cheese board is having a very good vintage port.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
So the cheeses are very much welcomed, because I'll eat any type of cheese. I do. Okay. I am very partial to cheese, but they do need to be accompanied by a good port.
A good
we're not talking an off the shelf from the local supermarket bottle of port either.
Okay, we're going for the proper stuff.
Yes, and if you actually do go to some of the the good establishments around the Lake District, you will pick up a very good glass of port.
Yes. So the cheese supports the port, not the other way around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And,
I love that.
And I am known for having more than one glass of port.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, only having one. It'd be rude just to have one. You need to.
Yes, absolutely.
You need to test it. Thanks so much for your time, Jay. That's been really good and really fascinating to hear. Certainly within roles like yourself, where it is seasonal, it's understanding some of those differences as well, and the fact that once you kick your wellies off at the end of the season, you're not just resting until the next one starts. It's always good to know. So thanks very much, Jay.
I wish it was that easy, but it's not. No.
Thanks so much. Really good speaking to you.
Andrew, brilliant. Thank you very much for that.
And there we have it, another fascinating role here at Ground Control. Please do subscribe to the podcast on your favourite podcast platform. Please do share, like, and of course spread the word. Until next time, take care.